exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Welcome in to the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today. Coming up, head coach Brian Kelly discusses the week ahead for LSU Fighting Tiger football. But first, from inside the Capital One LSU Sports Radio Network studios, here are former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Good Monday morning, Tiger fans. Welcome into the Brian Kelly Press Conference as we head towards week number 7 for LSU Fighting Tiger football. Tough one over the weekend here at home on Saturday afternoon. Tennessee comes in number 8 in the land. They get the win 40-13 over your Tigers in a frustrating day, to say the very least. And we'll hear from Coach Brian Kelly coming up at the top of the hour of 12 noon Central Time, and I'm sure he'll have plenty to talk about, as he did following the game on Saturday, along with Gordy Rush here in the Capital One studios. And Gordy, it was, again, I'm not a superstitious guy. I know that there are some out there, but the start of the game on Saturday, don't know if it's an omen or not, but didn't get off to the start they wanted. And, a lot of people talked last week leading into this matchup because of the explosive offense of the Volunteers, that if you aren't careful, and that's any team, not just LSU, you can find yourself down in a big hole very quickly. LSU has started out in holes this season. They've been able to overcome it, but before we knew it, it was 20-0 Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of the 11 o'clock kickoff had to do with it, and it was, it was an interesting 24 hours before the game with the news of Will Campbell that came out late Friday when he made that Instagram post, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that in this press conference. And then the opening kickoff, in which Jack Besh, who's been so reliable, fumbles the football, and the punt return. It's 10-0. Before you know it. And look, I thought LSU was ready to play. Saw them pregame, and I still think the intensity was there. They just simply did not execute. Tennessee made all the plays, and they were playing catch-up the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, I think even down 20-0, I think we had the feeling, I imagine there were LSU fans as well, that felt like, okay, it could be a lot worse. LSU's defense put in a tough spot early after the fumble. They started at the 27-yard line. Then you mentioned we come out, have to punt it away, and it's a 47-yard punt return by D. Williams, who made his debut for Tennessee on Saturday. Now they start at the 26-yard line. Luckily, they hold them to a field goal, another field goal, to be 13-0 when it easily could have been 21-0 right out of the gate.
Yeah, look, it was 20-7, and Dre Jenkins couldn't hold on to a deep post route late in the second quarter. And if he'd been able to hold on that, it might have been a little bit more interesting. LSU goes for it in 4th 10, unable to convert. Tennessee's able to get a field goal. And at that point, Chris, it really felt like the wind came out a little bit, and then Tennessee took the opening drive in the third quarter, opening possession, and scored with that. So look, Tennessee is a very, very good football team. They are a top 10 football team. LSU did not execute and had issues on all three phases of their football team. It won LSU's afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, as I said earlier, everybody understands the explosive nature of Tennessee's offense under Coach Heupel, and obviously Hendon Hooker is one of the top quarterbacks in the country. I think the biggest takeaway for me, and it'll be interesting to hear Coach Kelly talk about it coming up, is maybe, I don't want to say a surprise, Gordy, but the defense of Tennessee. Everybody who had seen them play from a national standpoint, from those locally in Knoxville, had said, hey, the offense can put up points. Our question mark is whether or not the defense can play. They've been very susceptible to the passing game, and they played lights out. I mean, if they turn the corner on Saturday, then I think Tennessee is a team to be reckoned with the rest of the way. They held LSU to just 2 yards per rush on the afternoon.
Yeah, they got in a shootout with Florida, and then even Pittsburgh, who is not the team they were a year ago. Got the Vols into overtime early on in the season. So Tennessee's defense, it was better. There's no question about it. What impressed me, Chris, is that most teams that have played LSU were very aggressive, played a lot of man coverage, and decided to blitz and attack the inexperienced LSU offensive line. Also, teams that usually play on the opposite side of a high-tempo offense, they also They want to be feast or famine. They're going to tend to be aggressive. They're going to blitz with the idea, look, you're either going to score quickly and we're going to get the track meet that we want as a football team, or we're going to make something happen. But they backed up and played a lot of base. They just rushed 4, and I thought that they really executed at a high level and gave LSU fits.
Again, there were 4 sacks on the day, and as Gordy pointed out, they brought a lot of 3- and 4-man rush, able to get home. We talked about the issues on the offensive line. Again, down Will Campbell, who's played so well in his freshman season up to this point. Also won the turnover battle. Again, there was an interception late in the game as LSU was trying to put points on the board. But you talk about the fumbles that were put down on the floor. And it's interesting, coming into last week, LSU led the SEC in turnover margin +5. Tennessee was number 2 at +3. At the end of Saturday, going into this week, they flip-flop. Tennessee now leads the SEC +5 and LSU at +3.
Yeah, look, and give Tennessee credit. I thought that, again, they played well defensively. The ball sometimes bounces your way against Auburn, bounced LSU's way a couple times. And this, again, we said it before, this won LSU's afternoon.
All right. Well, again, it was a tough day, 40-13. The Tigers, though, 4-2 on the season. They moved to 2-1 in SEC play, and now they head back out on the road, which now has to be the focus and the concern if you're the Fighting Tigers. You travel to take on Florida in the Swamp, prime time, 6 p.m. Central Time this coming Saturday. Tiger fans, make sure you download the ASAP app. Get all of your game day needs delivered right to your door. ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. We're going to take a break, and we're going to turn the page. We'll look at the matchup coming up this Saturday against the Florida Gators, leading you up to 12 noon. Coach Brian Kelly will join us from the Lawton Room inside Tiger Stadium as the Brian Kelly press conference delivered by ASAP continues after this.
Albertsons is making shopping and saving easier than ever. Check out Albertsons For You in our mobile app, where you can shop for groceries and save weekly with digital coupons all in one place. With Albertsons For You, you can earn rewards points every time you shop and redeem them for free groceries. Brand new Albertsons For You members receive $5 off their next $25 purchase just for signing up. Download the Albertsons app or go to albertsons.com to sign up. Albertsons, fresh food, local flavors.
Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU Athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
In the SEC, we sweat the small stuff. The attention to tradition. The preparation for competition. The smallest things can have the biggest impact on this field and a whole host of other fields. To shine among the brightest stars, you have to sweat the small stuff. Because here, it just means more.
Coach Kelly is just moments away from previewing the week for the Fighting Tigers. This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Once again, here are Gordy and Chris.
Coming up in about 11 minutes, we head over to the Lawton Room. Coach Brian Kelly will be there, give opening statements, take questions from the media. I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversation about this past Saturday, but no doubt about it. This LSU football team now looking ahead to the here and now and the foreseeable future, and that will be a trip to the Swamp on Saturday to take on the Florida Gators. Florida coming in 4-2 on the year, 1-2 in conference games. They lost to Kentucky and lost to Tennessee in that shootout that Gordy mentioned. Got the win over Missouri this past Saturday. Wasn't easy, Gordy. 24-17. That game tied at the half between Mizzou and Florida. And it's interesting when you take a look at the Gator offense. Billy Napier in his first year at Florida inherits the pieces that he inherits. Anthony Richardson, opening game of the year, looked like against Utah he might be an early Heisman candidate. Struggled against Kentucky. It was easy against Eastern Washington, and then last week Florida really relied on the run game. But against Tennessee, Richardson effective throwing the football. So the plays can be made if you give them to him. But it's still kind of hard, I think, for most people to get a gauge on how good this Florida team is going into week number 7.
Yeah, Billy Napier inherited a similar situation. Coach Kelly did here at LSU. A lot of people leaving and going, and a team that struggled a year ago. What with Anthony Richardson, you have a tremendous athlete. He had a breakout game in the second half in Tiger Stadium last year. He's 81 of 145 yards with 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions passing, only a 52% percentage completion rate. And so a little suspect throwing the football. Where they're not suspect is running the football. 6.1 yards. A carry. They've got Johnson, Montreal Johnson, I believe, is the tailback transfer from the University of Utah. He's a fantastic back. Travis Etienne's younger brother, Trevor, from right down the road. He's been explosive, similar to his brother. All 3 of them are rushing for over 6 yards an attempt. And when you think about Billy Napier and the success he had at UL Lafayette, he had Levi Lewis from Scotlandville, and they ran the football. And that's what they do well. They want to run the football because defensively a year ago they were 10th in the SEC in overall defense, and I believe right now they're 3rd from last. So they're trying to find themselves on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, that's where I was going first was the Florida Gator defense. They gave up 26 points to Kentucky. Just got by South Florida 31, but they gave up 28 points. They lost to Tennessee, kept them under their season average, but did give up 38 points in that game. And then against Missouri, again, a 10-10 score at the half. Missouri able to get one more score in the fourth quarter. They give up 17 to Mizzou. And, you look between the lines of what they're giving up, as far as yardage is concerned, total offense about 413 yards per game to their opponents.
Yeah, and look at some of the teams they played, too, and that has to do with it as well, right? South Florida, who's an out-of-conference game. Jeff Scott's down there from Clemson, and so they're better, and they're going to throw the ball over the park. He was a part of some of those Trevor Lawrence offenses up at Clemson. So that's some of it, and we know how good Tennessee is offensively, and Utah's a good football team. They're not where they were a year ago, but they're still a very good football team. Again, similar to the situation that was here at LSU is at Florida. A lot of new faces. They're trying to put people in the right seats on the bus.
Again, this is the traditional SEC East and SEC West. It'll be the second week in a row for LSU taking on a team from the other division. But this one is, I guess, one of the more contentious, at least in my opinion, for that cross-division rivalry, Florida and LSU. And the Tigers have a 3-game win streak going back to, obviously, the magical 2019 season. Last year was probably one of the highlight games outside of Texas A&M to finish the season. But Florida gets up for this game, too. And if they've struggled throughout the season up and down, something tells me, and I'm sure Coach Kelly's going to talk about it today and with the team, you're going to get the best shot for the Gators coming up this Saturday. It's Tom Petty Day at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. And you and I were discussing that because we remember Tom Petty passed away on the 2nd of October, 2017. LSU played at the Swamp on October 7th, 2017. They had the fourth quarter Tom Petty, memorial that they do. That's become a tradition there. And so no surprise it's going to be Tom Petty Day at the Swamp and LSU.
I'm excited about that. That was a 17-16 game that LSU won, and that was a snoozer. That really wasn't a great football game, and the best part of it was Tom Petty. And you're right, they play I Won't Back Down at the end of the before the fourth quarter, and it's a pretty cool scene and one of the better scenes in SEC football. Look, it's Saturday night in the Swamp. There's a lot of energy with Napier there. They've been practically sold out for all of these games, and they realize, similar to LSU, this is a rebuilding project, and Anthony Richardson is fun to watch. Now, like I said, he came on the scene the same time that Ty Davis-Price was running those traps. I'll remember last year against Florida, like LSU ran the same play. They ran the trap, and Mashburn was kicking out Florida defense's ends, and you might have the number in front of you, but Ty Davis-Price ran for a lot of yards, and then all of a sudden here comes Richardson, and LSU couldn't stop him.
Yeah, set a record that day, which was a memorable day, again, in an otherwise dismal season. I wanted to talk to you because a lot of times it's a first-year head coach, Brian Kelly at LSU, Billy Napier at Florida. There's a ton of transfers for both of these teams that are going to be involved in this rivalry for the first time ever. But as a player coming in, new coaching staff, but it's a traditional contested game, hot rivalry. Is it easy to pick up on that and immediately start hating Florida and immediately start hating LSU?
No question. You can't go into an environment like the Swamp and have that sort of music. And it is, to me, it's the tallest stadium. I mean, it really is imposing. When you come out of the LSU locker room and you look up, the way that is set into the ground, and the top part of the home section is as high as any stadium that I'm in. It's one of the great environments of all of college football. And to me, it's not whether or not it's a home or away game. It's whether you have noise and electricity or you don't have noise and electricity. No, nothing against our friends up in Nashville, up at Vanderbilt, but at 11 a.m. game, and Vanderbilt's a tough place to turn the switch on. 7 o'clock Eastern time in Gainesville, Florida, in the Swamp, you shouldn't have a problem at all.
Real quick before we hand it off to Coach Brian Kelly in the Lawton room, offensively for LSU, again, Tennessee, you got to tip your cap to them. They played an excellent game, had an excellent game plan, and they executed on the defensive end. If you're LSU going into this game, how do you attack Florida? I mean, from what you've seen, what's the best route? Is there a game that LSU has played earlier where the game plan may work against the Gators this week?
Look, I think getting the key is about getting Jaden Daniels in rhythm. Unfortunately, in this game, LSU dug themselves a hole, and they had to become one-dimensional. And that means, I think, running at the right tempo and then complementing it with some sort of run game. One of the things that worked against LSU in this game, Tennessee, as we mentioned, played a lot of base defense, 3- and 4-man fronts, didn't bring a lot of blitz packages, and LSU was still unable to run the football. How can they fix this offensive line? Who are they going to get back on this offensive line and put together some sort of run game to complement Daniels and these receivers?
Real quick, on the other side of the football, we've seen Matt House really scheme up a good defense. They got in, as you said, had their backs to the wall from the very word go on Saturday. But against Florida, where they're able to run the ball, and you said if you watched any of the Raging Cajun football under Coach Napier, he wants to run the football. He's got 3 very good runners back there. Is it simply saying, hey, let's just keep Richardson in the pocket, make him beat us with the pass?
No, it's numbers in the box, Chris. Whether you want to go get him or not, you want to put numbers in the box to be able to stop that run football game. And then at that point, that means you're going to have to take some chances on the back end. How do you limit the number of big plays? And that's where Richardson can get you. If you've got man-to-man coverage back there, don't give up a big play. And again, Richardson, ATN, all these backs are very capable of going 20-plus anytime on you.
Again, hoping and expecting to hear maybe some injury updates from Coach Kelly. Again, hopefully going to have Will Campbell back on the left side of that offensive line and make sure nobody came out of the game on Saturday with any significant injuries going into where they need all hands on deck against the Florida Gators. As Gordy said, an imposing atmosphere, always a bitter rivalry between Florida and LSU. Of course, we'll have the coverage for you beginning from the Swamp right here, actually, on campus at LSU with LSU Game Day coming your way at 4 o'clock Central Time. And then just after 6 o'clock, we'll have the coverage for you as Florida and LSU get together one more time. Again, it's a fun atmosphere, but LSU, this is an important game for the Tigers. I mean, you look forward to these types of matchups, but as Coach Kelly said, when the calendar flipped to October, it's the meat of the schedule.
Oh, no doubt.
We got Ole Miss coming up, which, by the way, they just announced will be the 2:30 Central game on CBS. But you got Ole Miss. Obviously, you have UAB out of conference, and then you step back in after the off week with Alabama.
All right, when the schedule came out, these were the 4 games that you circled. This was defining the season right here. Whether or not you're going to be in contention in the SEC West or maybe get to 8 or 9 wins, you had to come through this stretch 500. in this first year with Coach Kelly, that would be a goal to win 2 out of these 4. It is a tough stretch when you look at Auburn, Tennessee home, at Florida, Ole Miss.
Again, Florida 4-2 on the season, 1-2 in conference play. The Tigers likewise 4-2, but ahead in the SEC race at 2-1. Coming up, we're just told Coach Brian Kelly has made his way to the Lawton Room, and in fact, in just a few moments, we will head to the stage there and the podium, hand the microphone off to him. But Gordy, thanks as always for being in, talking a little football, and we'll see you in Gainesville. At least we're covered inside the bunker, the press box area there. You're right out there in the elements.
And the other thing that makes Florida very tough is the student section is right behind the opposing bench, and they have adult beverages that they serve until usually the fourth quarter. And I'm happy when the fourth quarter comes around and they shut that down. It is a rowdy place, and they like to get in the players' ear.
Here we go. Let's go to the Lawton Room. We'll hear from Brian Kelly during the Brian Kelly press conference delivered by ASAP.
Hi, good afternoon. We'll start off with a quick look back over the weekend, which was not certainly a weekend that I'm anxious to look back at, but you have to take the good with the bad, and certainly that was not anything that we want to put up there as a performance to be duplicated. But the fact of the matter is, Tennessee played well. We did not start very well. Our attention to detail, the fundamentals, clearly has to get better. We've got to coach our team better. If you look at it, it's in its entirety. A number of little things here and there. We certainly can't start the way we did, as I mentioned, in terms of, spotting a really good team, 10 points. Guys battled, but again, you have to play clean against the top 10 team. We did not do that, and we got, what you deserve in a game like that. If you don't play smart football, if you don't play clean, you're going to get what you deserve. So hats off to Tennessee. The great part about it is you get to flip the script and get back to work, which we do that today, and get ready for a trip to Gainesville and a very difficult place to play on the road, and playing Florida, a team that also picked up a good win last week against Missouri. And, both first-year head coaches, certainly looking for consistency with their team. It's a really talented football team on offense. Clearly have, an outstanding quarterback, and, very similar to Hendon Hooker that we saw this weekend. Great size, strong arm, and is very dangerous. So a skilled quarterback, outstanding running backs, Johnson and Etienne, both game breakers. The strength to me on this Florida team is the offensive line. Really good offensive line, and that will be the challenge. They can run the football, and they have proven. I think they're averaging 6 yards plus running the football. So. Going against an excellent offensive line, we're going to have to rise to that challenge, certainly. From a defensive perspective, really like the linebacker Miller, extremely athletic, big defensive line. I think Hill was the SEC Player of the Week, had 2 interceptions. So, a talented SEC defense. Offensively, we're going to have to be obviously much more balanced than we were. But we'll go back to work, and look, we're right. You guys will probably laugh, but we're right in the middle of our process. We're working at it every single day, and it's a journey. And I'm excited to be on it. Our guys are working hard to get better every single day, and we'll get back to work at it this week to bring more of the traits necessary. There's a lot of talent in this league. You can't just win on talent. You got to win with, playing smart and, You've got to have a great attitude. You've got to have great focus, and those traits we'll keep working on, and look forward to bringing them, and we'll need to bring them to the Swamp this weekend. So, with that, we'll open up to questions.
Coach, you talked a lot back here. You talked a lot about coaching it better. Mm-hmm. How do you self-scout that part of it when you're busy and you guys are busy trying to get the game plans ready for the next week, review the last week, et cetera? How much of it can you actually implement?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot more about recognition of your players and what you can do to put them in better positions as you get a chance to know your players even more. And so I think that's where good coaching and good, assessment comes in. And then, how are they retaining knowledge, right? So, everybody learns differently. Is it walkthroughs? Is it whiteboard teaching? Is it more film study? I think we have to look at our teaching, and if it's not being retained, it falls on us as coaches, teachers, and educators to make sure it can't be just, well, he's not getting it. We have to look at and find out how can they get that and apply it and take it to the field.
First, how's Will Campbell doing, and any update on Garrett Dellinger's MRI? And then also, didn't look like Harold Perkins was used pretty sparingly. Is there any main reason for that?
3 questions in one. You did a nice job. Really, it flowed very well. Good news on Will Campbell. Had a major test this morning that he passed. I think he's going to be released here in the next hour or so. We've got one more hurdle. We think if we pass that, which we're confident, we'll see what happens, things are trending in a really positive direction for Will. So we're really pleased. Garrett's got a second-degree MCL, so he'll be lost for this week and most likely next week. We're really thinking that it's probably a 2-week injury for Garrett Dellinger. Perkins, look, as you guys know, we moved him to Sam linebacker. Last week was not a position where, and the game. The game was a spread game. You got 2 receivers that are out on the numbers. Harold would have had to be standing out on the numbers playing the game as the Sam. We nickeled out. So we were in a nickel situation. We would have had to change his position back to inside linebacker for that game. We weren't going to do that. This is a game that suits him really well. You'll see a lot of Harold Perkins this weekend.
Hi, Coach, right here. What was your reaction to Kayshon Boutte scoring his first touchdown of the season?
Yeah, you always want to see your guys do well. In particular, Kayshon, who's really, trying to, do everything he can to be successful and help our team. So, yeah, you're obviously excited. You want to see more for him. But, yeah, no doubt, I think everybody was happy for him.
Brian, you mentioned just the slow starts. Obviously, that's been kind of a thing all season. What maybe we'll go into actually trying to just start faster? Is it multifaceted in a lot of different phases, or is it simply offensively getting off to a better start?
Yeah, I just wish I could give you a better answer. I thought we were prepared. The guys were excited as we were coming out to the field. I thought our preparation, I don't know that I would do anything different. We have to execute better. That's the way we started the game. We don't catch a ball that, we feel like in most instances that's a catch that, although it wasn't an easy catch, we had to go about 12 yards to get it. That's one that we normally make on a punt return. We've got guys in position. But look, it is what it is. We got off to a slow start again. We'll keep talking about how important it is, but that's execution more than being lethargic, and disinterested. That group was ready to play, but you still have to execute, and execution is in special teams, and in those 2 instances in particular, obviously it let us down.
Coach, it's a disappointing thing about Saturday when you got a home crowd and you want them to impact the game, and you kind of take them out of the game immediately with those 2 special teams mistakes.
No doubt. I think I talked to our team about it. I said, listen, one of the advantages we have is we've got a home crowd here, so let's get them working for you. But again, this is a process for our guys. We're learning. They're understanding that they have to bring more than just talent to the field, and we'll keep working at it. And what we have to do better is we have to be more purposeful, more intentional, and we'll keep working at it during the week.
Coach, down here, as far as the offense is concerned, I know you said on Saturday no one's walking through the door. I think that was your comment. Can you run more read option? Are you afraid to have the quarterback run too much? What can you do to get the offense jump-started, do you think?
Well, I mean, look, you watched the game as well as I did. Where were the problem areas? The problem areas is we moved the football between the 20s, but we didn't score in scoring zones. So if you really want to break it down, we have to be critically analyzing, key third and fourth down situations and really high red zone. So, it's not really about plays as much as it's execution in those critical moments. And so really probably spending more time during the week in those critical situations in third and fourth down, and how we can support the group in that situation as well. We've got some new players on the offensive line. Maybe we have to do some more things. Maybe we're going to move the pocket. Maybe we have to protect with 7, do some things like that as well. So I think it's really more about situational offense than it is adding anything. Matter of fact, I think we probably have to take some things out because we have to execute at a higher level, and maybe less is more, and maybe that's what we have to look at.
Special teams, and just kind of picking up on your drift here, is that a lot of it is execution, but special teams seems to be something different each week. Going back to my first question, is it still just a learning process of who can do what and their ability to execute what they're asked to do on special teams, or in your review, has there been a larger issue that kind of seems to be repeating itself?
Well, look, I mean, the areas that are pretty clear, you watch the game, right? I mean, we got to field the football and we got to tackle in space. Those are, clearly areas that we have to be able to, get guys to perform at that level. And so do we need to spend more time individually on things? Do we need to demand more from the individuals that are actually out there? There isn't like a whole group of other guys that are ready to play. I mean, we're playing front line. We've got our starting linebackers on our punt routine, and we've got one of our best receivers returning, kickoff. So it's not like, we've got the JV team out there. These are our best guys, and we just have to stick with it and work at getting better.
You talked this weekend about masking deficiencies in a way, kind of as a head coach in season. I'm curious, is that, do you look at a lot of personnel? Is that scheme? Is that play calling? Kind of how do you go about addressing that?
Look, right around when we're the halfway point, right? We're 6 games into it. Everybody knows their strengths and weaknesses, and then everybody knows your own strengths and weaknesses, right? Because you've been self-scouted and scouted. So I think it's important at this time of the season is that, you start to look at the areas that people want to attack, and you have to be creative. You have to be able to say, okay, they're going to attack us here. What's our answer? How are we going to help our players in this particular situation, whether it be offense, defense, or special teams? Are we better served with a 42-yard punt with a 4.6 hang time than a 58-yard punt that stretches our coverage? All of those things have to be considered across the board from an offense, defense, and special teams. And that's where you go back and look at it critically and say, how can we help our football team?
Coach, this isn't a question about playing him now, but just since you got Walker Howard in the spring to now, how much has he improved? How much has he picked up on and learned since you started coaching him?
I'd say every day that he's with us, there's more knowledge because I'm in the meetings with the quarterbacks, and he's got a great football knowledge. He's mentally strong. He believes he's better than every quarterback we have, which is awesome. I love that. And I don't mean that in any way other than he just has that kind of makeup, which is what you want. And he respects everybody in the room. But, yeah, he's continues to develop, and we have have a good feeling about him.
Yeah, hey, Coach, right over here. You mentioned the 7-man protection, and that might be something you guys want to focus on, I guess, this week. Just, I know you can't dig too much into the weeds, but just, holistically, how does that look? Just as a, overview. Just what.
Yeah,
do you
we
hope to
ran
see out of
some. We ran some on Saturday, and it was pretty effective. Now you're just look. I mean, you're giving something up to get something there, right? So you really have to put a lot on your receivers. They've got to find a way to get open. And it's not a panacea, right? You can pick your spots and do a little bit of 7-man protection, but you also got to be able to get the ball out of your hands if you're being pressured, and your 6-man's got to hold up as well. But look, I guess I don't want to make too much of it, other than kind of what the question was posed, is that as coaches we have to do a better job as well, and so we're going to look at everything that we can do to help our football team continue to get better.
In that same vein, how have your tight ends were such a question mark going into the season? How do you think they've done, both offensively as weapons, but also in their pass blocking?
I think in the passing game they have been. Look, you're looking for complementary receivers within the group of receivers that we have, and they have been that. Maybe a little bit more. We still have a ways to go in the blocking, and so that's an area that is going to have to continue to grow and continue to develop with that group.
Brian, with Dellinger out, will it be Bradford, or are you going to have an open competition this week? Or
Yeah, so we're looking forward to our 6th combination on the offensive line. Look, I can tell you right now as I stand here, we've got 4 guys that we know for sure. And then the rest we'll have to kind of figure out. We really like Bradford inside. We lose a lot, in terms of his physicality, when we move him out to tackle. So, the ideal situation would be to get him back inside. But we're going to have to see, how this thing plays out during the week. I wish I could give you a better answer, but that's all we got right now.
Coach, after going to Auburn and dealing with that crowd noise and everything, how do you think your team handled it, and now moving forward to another place that's one of the loudest in the country?
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I mean, I think crowd noise has been okay for us. We seem to be a little bit more focused and locked in when we get that. You hate to talk in terms of when you turn the music on and you get real loud, the guys pay attention more. But the fact of the matter is, they did a nice job in their preparation for Auburn, and they're going to have to do that here for Florida, because you're right. I mean, it's a crazy environment, and they're going to have to be locked in this week.
Kind of to your opening stanza there, just are you where you thought you might be? And what do you say to a team after a loss like that? That gives them hope, I guess, going forward, but isn't too demoralizing. Yeah,
well, look, there's going to be a lot of emotions, right? And emotion is part of, what happens after a win or a loss. What you have to make sure is that you have the right emotions. And the right emotions is that our guys care. And then redirect them into caring about the right things. Look, the line is long for those that want to win. The line is usually shorter for the line that says, are you willing to do the things necessary to win, right? That line's always a little shorter. So we just have to make sure that our guys are going to continue to do the little things necessary to win. And that's all. We want them to have emotions. They should be angry. They should be upset. But we have to redirect those emotions into caring about winning. And the process for us, we're just... we're six weeks into the season. This process is a process, and I know that's going to be a terrible quote for everybody, but that's the reality of it, and I'm okay with that, and we'll continue to work on, getting to where we need to get to.
To that end, are you, obviously you can't know everything when you take the job, but are you about where you thought you would be, when you finally discovered the positives and the shortcomings that you had as a program dealing with trying to get it back to a championship level?
Well, look, let's be honest. I mean, I really didn't know the roster until I got a chance to examine the roster, and so I got a glimpse of it during the bowl prep, and then saw where we were at, and knew that okay, we got some work to do, and all I then really cared about is that the guys wanted to do the work necessary, and they have, and we're going to have some more good days, and we're going to have some more bad days. This isn't the first time that I'm going to have to stand in front of you, and we're going to have to answer a lot of questions about why didn't we do this and why, and that is all part of this, and I should have to. But the fact of the matter is, we're in the middle of teaching guys new habits, a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things, and they want to do it, but it's hard, but they're committed to doing it.
Ryan, you mentioned just Florida's offensive line, the run game.
Yeah.
Obviously, gave up over 200 yards rushing against Tennessee. Do you have any level of concern with what needs, or something you need to change on run defense after a game like that heading into Florida?
It's a good offensive line. I think we have a good defensive line. I think we have a good scheme. We're going to have to play better than we did last week. I think we're capable of doing that. That's why you play these games. That's why you prepare. We have to prepare really well. I mean, we have to play better than we played last week, or we're going to give up too many yards, and we're going to have a hard time winning the game. But I have confidence in our group. I think they're going to respond. I don't think that there's any reason to think that there are any factors out there that this football team's not going to play well this coming weekend, and I expect them to. Good. All right. Thank you.
Coach Brian Kelly this week with the press conference as the Tigers come off the tough loss to Tennessee and now regroup, get ready to take on Florida on the road in the Swamp coming up this weekend at 6 p.m. We'll take our final timeout. We come back, some news and notes, get you ready for the week. It's the Brian Kelly press conference delivered by ASAP.
Together, we are partners, setting a new standard for health. Together, we prove that no matter how battle-tested we are, our spirit remains undefeated. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are creating transformational change and impacting Louisiana with a new standard for healthcare, research, and education. Together, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are champions for Louisiana. Together, we roar. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU.
Welcome back to our podcast here in the Bayous in Louisiana. We are looking for the exclusive multiplier games from the lottery with Louisiana's very first $20 scratch-off and a top prize of $500,000. Wait a tick. We found it! Hold on. What's that sound? I think I'll get a closer look. Wait! Oh.
Hey, that's the Explorer! He found the multiplier games!
Thank you, everyone.
Try all 5 multiplier games. You could win up to $500,000. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
In the SEC, we sweat the small stuff. The attention to tradition. The preparation for competition. The smallest things can have the biggest impact on this field and a whole host of other fields. To shine among the brightest stars, you have to sweat the small stuff. Because here, it just means more.
This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP.
69th meeting all-time between Florida and LSU coming up this Saturday, 6 p.m. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville. Florida leads this series very tight in this battle of SEC East, SEC West. Gators 33 wins, 32 losses, and 3 ties. Gators also have a 16-14-3 advantage there in the Swamp. Coming up later this week on Thursday, 7 p.m., The Brian Kelly Show, live from TJ Ribs. Hope to have you there. Can't make it out? You can check it out listening across the great stations on the LSU Sports Radio Network and on the LSU Sports mobile app, streaming each week. Coming up on Saturday, 4 o'clock, LSU Game Day gets our broadcast day started. Again, it'll be Hunt Palmer, Marlon Favorite, Brandon Taylor, leading you up to 6 o'clock. Doug Morrow and Gordy Rush will join me from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium for all the coverage of Florida and LSU. Thanks to Gordy Rush once again. Thanks to you for stopping by. Hope you'll be back here next week for the Brian Kelly press conference delivered by ASAP.
This has been the Brian Kelly press conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today.